I get the occasional comment in my videos saying, "Thanks, James. Now you've just caused me to buy another watch." And I always think that's really funny because, well, I do exactly the same thing. I watch a lot of watch related content. I think I'm subscribed to 60 or 70 watch content channels. And it's so often that I see a watch featured that I think I've got to own that. And that's exactly what's happened with this MecExp. Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches, and I'm talking about a watch named MecExp. Probably not the easiest word to say, but it is certainly a very cool watch. A watch that I saw a review of and I thought I need to have that watch. And it's very rare that I actually reach out to companies. I just like to look at the watches that I like and then buy them if I need them. But on this occasion, I reached out and I said, "Hey, I've seen that amazing watch that you've released and I would love to feature it on my channel." Now, I was kind of hoping just for a small discount, but they were nice enough to actually supply this watch to me, which is why you would have ended up seeing that sponsored icon pop up there, and partly why I'm going to leave details to the website to see this watch in a little bit more detail. But even if I had bought this watch for myself, which I was definitely considering doing because I wasn't asking for a free watch, I'd leave those links as well because it's worth checking out their website. It shows how this watch functions and it shows the different color versions of it as well. Now, I didn't get a choice, but I ended up with the green one, which I'm actually very happy with because stainless steel and the green on this leather strap really works well. But it's not so much about the color versions of this watch, it's about how it looks and how it works. And today, I want to share with you a couple of things. Mostly what has first stood out to me since this watch has arrived. So let's look at this watch and let me point out some rather interesting things about it. So I've got the green version on the leather, the MS1001. And this one, if you are interested in it, or any of the other colors, obviously, it is actually 440 Australian dollars. And when this first arrived, I have to say there were 5 things that stood out to me. And that didn't actually include the packaging, which comes with a nice sort of instruction manual there. And of course, because this watch is battery powered, and I'm going to show you a bit about that in a few minutes, it also has a charger, which reminds me a lot of like an iWatch. It has 2 options there. You can use the smaller USB fitting or a normal USB fitting, and then that just slaps onto the back of the watch to charge it. Just like that. But the first thing that actually stood out to me about this watch is just how soft it is to touch, the transitions between those angles. Because when you look at this watch, it's full of angles. It's very square and angular with these deep sort of cuts into the side there. And when you touch it, I just expected there to be sharp surfaces, but not at all. Even these sort of grains on the side or these sort of lines that have been ground into the case, very soft to touch. That's actually a very good and pleasant surprise because I wasn't expecting that. The second thing to actually stand out to me was the lume. I knew this watch had a backlight, which is actually very, very cool, but what I wasn't expecting was to have so much lume even when you're not using that backlight. The third thing to stand out to me was, of course, just how this watch works. It's completely different to anything else that I've ever owned, and it is very, very cool and interesting, and I really like it because if you press the side crown once, you get that backlight. So yes, that backlight as well as that lume that I just showed you. But if you press the crown twice, it now is telling you how much power is in the battery of the watch. So you can see at the moment, it's around about 3/4. Press it once more to reset. Now, if you press it 3 times, it now turns into the chronograph feature. So you can hit it once to start ticking away and actually counting the seconds. Press it again, and then again to reset. Now we're back to time. And if you hold it for 4 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, it now turns into power save mode. So if you're wearing this watch and you put it down at the end of the night, you can actually just put it into power save mode, saves power throughout the night, and then click 1 again, and then it goes back to using the power again and reset to the current time. Now, the fourth thing I have to admit was legibility, because when this watch arrived and I started wearing it, well, I was like, what is the time? Because it skips between sort of 12 and 2 and 4, because that's your hours on the side. The minutes are a little bit easier because it's going sort of up by 10, but it wasn't immediately obvious what the time was, especially it was an in-between, because is it now 2:40 or is it 3:40? But I have to admit, after I actually started wearing this watch just for a short amount of time, it became much, much easier. I think I just adjusted to reading the time, so I can easily see now it is 3:40. And the last thing was the length of the battery, how long it is lasting. I was a bit worried that this might actually be something that I might have to recharge every couple of days. Not at all. I think you're going to get a couple of weeks at least out of this battery once fully charged. And as I showed you before, it's nice and easy to charge with that magnetic charger. And although it is a very much of a different sort of shape and different sort of look of a watch, I think it wears really well. On my 17cm wrist, it fits nicely that way. And it just looks cool. It's a very fun watch. I'm going to really enjoy owning this one. But because it looks a little bit chunky, you might think it's actually big, but not really. About 36mm across, under 48mm lug to lug, and a 22mm lug width. And try to get a little bit closer in just so you can see this watch. And I'm going to activate it so that you can see the movement of it. You'll see that sort of corkscrew sort of pinion there, turns and moves that thing. It's very cool. I quite like it. And it's covered by these two sapphire windows. And we can show that it is sapphire with my diamond select. As you can see, sapphire, and of course the other one's going to be sapphire as well. And this strap that it comes on seems quite nice as well. I think it's sort of very much suiting this watch and definitely lines up with the sort of the green stitching into those green numbers. Yeah, isn't this cool? The naming convention, MecExp, I know there's a reason for that. That seems a little bit odd, but when you're looking down at it, it does sort of blend into the pattern of that dial, that central sort of column there. Got some information there saying it's a flyback chronograph. Nothing on the other side here. You've got that sort of striations there that are dug into the case. Information on the back of the watch. Just a cool watch, one that I'm looking forward to wearing longer term. And definitely I want you to stay tuned, because when I come back to a full in-depth review of this one, I'm probably going to show you some more particular details that are worth pointing out that may not have been obvious as soon as I've got it, like I have right now. So stay tuned for that. But whilst you wait for that, perhaps watch these two videos next.